Kentucky, home of the 101st Airborne and other military units, but they're no match for our guest here today. Ma'am, if you would, tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Brooke Arbic. I wrestle 165 pounds at Fort Campbell High School.
And a little tidbit about Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell, Kentucky is, of course, a military installation, military base, but the high school is actually in the state of Tennessee. And you're probably wondering, gee, that doesn't make any sense. Well, here's a little tidbit for you, for the viewing audience. The Fort Campbell installation, the Kentucky side got the post office, and the majority of the base was built in Tennessee. I've done my research before I've done this review video. Everybody knows I love to have my brackets and team champions and all that, but I've done a little bit of research. I believe Fort Campbell was built in 1941, and it was, I think, inhabited is the word they used in 1942. So 1942 on. Fort Campbell has been a military installation. It's one of the, I guess, more commonly known military installations. Of course, Kentucky has Fort Knox and Fort Campbell. So I have to ask, Brooke, how long have you been in wrestling? What gets you into it?
I've been a wrestler for 2 years now. I started a couple of months after my freshman year started. So I initially got into it because I used to play soccer, and when I moved to Fort Campbell, because I'm a military kid, so we PCS, so moved state to state, and I came here from Florida where I had played soccer, and I didn't pick up soccer here and was just kind of bored because I've always been real big into athletics. So I tried out for the volleyball team and I didn't make it, but I met my teammate who actually, she took second in the state for 126, Thea Bober McDonald, and she was like, you have to try wrestling. Like you'd have so much fun with it. Like just come to one practice. And I was like, I don't know. And then I came to a week and kind of fell in love with it, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's a cool story. So, without going into too much detail, about how many states have you been like in school during, I guess, is your parents' military career? That's who you're going with?
I've been in Michigan. That's where I'm from initially. So Michigan, North Carolina, Florida, Kansas, Missouri, and then here. So 6 states.
Wow, that's a cool. That's cool that Fort Campbell and Fort Knox both have high schools. They both are active members of the KHSAA, and the teams actually compete. I mean, Fort Campbell football has won a couple state championships. Of course, 1971, Fort Campbell won the team title. And while we're on that, 1970 and 1978, Fort Campbell was team runners-up. And as of this filming, this is May the 2nd, 2024, Fort Campbell has 17 individual state wrestling champions, 16 boys state, and of course, as of now, you're the only girl state champion. But your coach, Anthony Shingler, he's got that program rolling. You guys come in. Well, I don't want to say you guys. You ladies come in tied for third place this year with Union County, and I can only see great things coming out of that program, especially as many people as move in and move out, like yourself. Got a constant talent pool, and especially with you only wrestling 2 years and being a state champion, that says a lot. That really does about coaching and your just athletic ability. So you come into wrestling, what did you think it was like gonna be? What you saw on like WWF and all that, or like ropes and all that, or what did you think it was gonna be?
Yeah, I did kind of think it was like, I did not expect it to be as, I think, managed as it is. So like the kind of rules that they have and that the refs enforce to make sure people don't get hurt. I did not think that there was going to be that kind of like management of matches, and so I was initially afraid that I was just going to get hurt doing it, and it was kind of a free for all, which is not what it was.
Yeah. No, being one of the senior officials in Kentucky, state tournament level official in Kentucky, thank you for saying that you felt that you felt safe. It wasn't like you were out there, in the octagon wrestling Ronda Rousey or whatever. It was, it's a combative sport, but yes, it may look like a lot's going on, and a lot does go on, but we do our best to train, every level of official that, hey, these are the rules. As soon as you see X, Y, Z, ABC, whatever it is, stop it. We don't want nobody to get, we're there to keep the competitors safe, whether it's boys or girls. And that's, thank you for that compliment. So you start as a freshman, and Kentucky didn't have they had a girls' state tournament, but it was run by the Coaches Association. And again, kudos to the Coaches Association for setting that up and organize it. Individual champions, team champion. But your first year, like you said, was last year, 165 pounds. You come in 5th place. The team comes in 4th. So, only a couple months, maybe even a couple weeks at that point into the sport, and you're already placing 5th place. Did you think like, okay, I'm good at this. I've got a future in this, right?
Yeah, I definitely it lit a little wind under my sail doing that, because earlier on in that season I actually broke my hand. So I was out for majority of that season. And it was my first season too. I think I was at all of the practices still, but I wasn't cleared to wrestle for I think a good 2 months. And then even after that, it was an even longer time before I was cleared. Like, I was cleared to practice, but I wasn't cleared to compete. So I think I'd only competed in like maybe 3 tournaments before the state tournament. So I was like, wow, like I like definitely showing up and like keeping with it has paid off. So if I achieved this without even like practicing all that time, like I can't imagine what I can do if I just keep on it. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, doing the research, you wrestled Naomi Santiago last year in the state tournament, correct?
Yes,
That's
sir.
that's what I thought, because we, of course, Naomi, her review videos on the channel. If you haven't watched it, go back. Now, I think I said earlier in this video, but I want to reiterate, you're the 9th girl that we've done review video with. There's only 13, and I made it a point to get with all 13 of the initial girl state champions, because I know how hard of a time I have had finding the state championship videos from our first state tournament was 1964. And we found, as of this filming, we've got 39. We have 33 complete. We have 5 partials and then 1 highlight video. So there's been 61 state tournaments. We have 33 complete. That's a pretty good percentage, a little bit more than half. And we still got videos people are looking for. We got pretty good. Hope we can find a few that we're missing still. But the historical aspect of the sport of wrestling growing in the state of Kentucky, especially the first year being the girls, every time you open social media, there's a new state sanctioning girls wrestling. The national, I don't want to use the word commissioner, but he was like the national representative for the NFHS. Was at the girls state tournament this year. I got to meet him. Of course, I told him about my YouTube channel. I said, look, you got to check out my YouTube channel. We have a lot of wrestling on there. We're going to have all the girls. That way, if you want to share it with other states or the association or whatever, but just be sure to check it out. And he said, I will. So hopefully he's tuned in and subscribed to the channel. But the sport of girls wrestling, I just finished my 18th season, and if you saw one girl on a team, of course, back then, and even when I wrestled, weigh-ins were totally different. Men could, weigh in naked and without being obscene. That's just a fact. I mean, if you were overweight or you thought you were going to be heavy, strip down to nothing, and hopefully hope for the best. Then that changed to undergarments and when it come time to weigh in a girl, we usually got like a mom, couple moms, a teacher, athletic trainer. Like if I knew somebody in the crowd was a nurse or a doctor, hey, can you go weigh our girl wrestlers in? And even at the bigger tournaments, we may have had at the most 2 or 3. Then you started seeing around, and I'm not trying to be funny, but around the Ronda Rousey peak, around 2013, 2014, 2015, you started seeing more girls pop up. You started seeing 2 or 3 on a team. Then the first one that I'm close to, Harrison County, they started having their own team. And you're like, Josh would bring in his team of boys and his team of girls. And you're like, bro, what are we doing here? You got a whole team of girls. And then you started hearing and seeing other girls' teams pop up. And then 2019, the State Coaches Association had the girls, first state girls, and we've had it. Then the KHSAA saw it and was like, we need to sanction and give the girls that are wrestling the same opportunity, the same playing field, if you will, the same experience as the boys. And this was the first year. So you not just with this series, but your name is forever going to be tied to being one of Kentucky's first girls state champions. I'm not saying it doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but you're going to be looked at, not whether it's next year or 40 years from now, next year or who knows when. You're going to be a name that people look at and be like, I've heard the stories about her. Wow, she was a pioneer. She was, this, she was that. If she done it, I can do it. If she can go out and be a state champion in her second year, why can't I?
Yeah.
Has that really kind of like processed yet? Just what you girls were able to do this year?
No, not really, honestly. Like, I think about it sometimes, but like I like not to like not get a big head about it, but like I like not to like make myself feel too special about it, because then I feel like I'll lose sight of of things that are important like for the future of like my wrestling like journey. But no, it is pretty cool sometimes when I stop and think about it, and it's definitely one of like my driving factors when I was like going to become the state champion this year, like throughout the season, is like I'd be the first one, like I'd be the first one for my weight class. It'd be the first year, and that'd be so cool. So it's definitely processed a little bit, but I don't think I like to think too in depth about it.
No, I get it. And believe me, you're probably what, 16, 15 years old?
16.
Okay. I'm 39. I'll be 40 in the wintertime of this coming year. And what we thought was important at 16, when you get to 40, certain things, you're like, I can't even, remember it, whatever. But as many guys as we met with, the earliest that we've met with somebody that was a state champion in Kentucky is 1965. He was a two-time state champion from Seneca, Dean Williams Sr., and he still had his original state championship medals from 1965 and 1966. So keep up with I'm sure you probably will, but keep up with your stuff. You get out, you start a life, however life takes you, college, work, family, whatever, however you choose, military, whatever you choose to do. It will mean so much to you and the other girls being able to look back and say, when you see Kentucky, however many girls are in a state tournament 10 years from now, where maybe it's got to be a 2-day, maybe we got to expand like the boys and do 32. You can always look back and say, right here, I'm one of the 13.
Yeah.
I can always say that for the rest of my life. But let's talk about your bracket, though. 165 pounds, you're a sophomore. Your first round, you wrestle Maddie Jones from Harrison County. You win that by a fall, 18 seconds. So you're not playing around. You're here to, what was Roddy Piper said in that movie, They Live? I'm here to kick some butt and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. So you were there to whoop some tail. Second round, which would be the quarterfinals, you're wrestling Haley Childers from Boyle County. You win that by a fall, 1 minute, 38 seconds. The semifinals, and I don't mean to mispronounce this young lady's name, but I'm just not familiar with the pronunciation. I believe it's Sayani Apollon from Henry Clay. Does that sound right to you?
It was, I know her last name, I think it was Apollyon, but I'm not sure about the first name.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like I said, I just don't know how to pronounce, Sion, Sianni, Sayani, Apollyon from Henry Clay. You win that by a fall, 2 minutes, 24 seconds, and she goes on to get 5th place. So you win that semifinals by fall, knowing that you're going into the state championship, knowing you can do it, knowing this is your time. Talk us through that. What nerves, excitement, what is it going through your head there?
I was definitely trying to keep myself calm because I tend not to do great when I get super stressed out. But it had definitely been something I'd been nervous about. I went into that tournament fully intending to do as well as I possibly could, and in my head that was always hoping to win the whole thing. Um, but moving into the finals, I was definitely nervous because I faced off against Anna Ruiz there in the
Mhm.
finals, and I had never seen her before. So I hadn't seen her the year before. I hadn't seen her any time during the season. And I'd never been able to find a clip of her, so I had no clue who she was or how she wrestled. And all I knew about her was what I had seen of her tournament or of her matches at that tournament. So I was definitely pretty nervous moving into it, but I was like, I can't stress myself out. So I went and I took a nap in the bleachers because I was so tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was definitely nervous.
And right there, you hit on two things that we have talked about with, guys that have won state tournaments back even in the early 2000s, all the way back, in the 80s, is the trying to find the clip. I mean,
Hmm.
speaking from somebody that was in school during I graduated in '03. I mean, we had cell phones, but they weren't like this. We couldn't pull up TikTok. We couldn't pull up, TikTok wasn't even invented then. Couldn't pull up YouTube. We couldn't pull up Instagram. Couldn't pull up Track, Flow, nothing like that. So, like you said, unless you just saw that person wrestle, you didn't know what they had to offer. Now you kind of knew the team. Yeah, this team's kind of good. This team's, they're not that good, whatever. But having just I guess the accessibility, just look somebody up of, yeah, I'm wrestling this, this young lady, I'm wrestling this guy, whatever, is such it's something that the high schoolers now have such easy access to, is this information. Just being able to find a clip of somebody or their track profile or what they posted on their Instagram reel or something to that effect. And another thing you said is going and taking a nap. When we had the state tournament in Frankfurt at the Dungeon, the hotel that everybody stayed in was literally attached to the arena. You could walk across like one of those like sky bridges right there, and you could be in the hotel. And that was always as soon as the semifinals match ended, the coaches that had wrestlers in the finals, they would send them back to the hotel. Go back to the room, take a shower, eat, sleep, go right now. I don't want to see you back until 6:30, and it would be like, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the day or whatever time it was. So really, all you had to do was walk across the sky bridge, go to the elevator, and that was it. 10
Hmm.
minutes tops. The being able to take a nap had to feel good, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was pretty tired because they ran all the girls matches in one day. I know the boys they
Mhm.
split to 2 days, but the girls was all one day. So everything that happened within 12 hours.
Yeah.
So I was tired.
Yeah, and especially, of course, even though you really haven't expended, I mean, all three of your matches have been pins, quick
Hmm.
pins at that. It's still taxing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and then the whole environment of it is like obviously um it's so amazing really to be there and like just the whole atmosphere, but
Yeah.
it's also so exhausting, like with everything going on. It's so loud, there's so many people, like
Yeah.
it was a lot. So even just like the emotional aspect of it is exhausting.
Absolutely. So you alluded to it earlier, but you're in the finals against Anna Ruiz from Great Crossing. That's out of Georgetown, Kentucky. And Great Crossing, they have a great program. Sam Murdoch is there, head coaching up there. You guys have saw the review video with Garrett Headley, him and his son Garrison. our assistant coaches there, Jonathan Strayer. We go on and on with the names, but Great Crossing, they have a great program. They finished tied for second place in the boys state tournament with Johnson Central. They had a state champion, Aiden Butler. I believe it won. It was either once. I think it was at 165 for the boys. So
I think so too.
Great wrestling there. Just the whole, like you said, the whole atmosphere, the whole dynamic of the state tournament. 6 mats going, the horse park, the arena. The eyes of the state are there. There's schools, I'm sure, there that you've probably never even seen or heard of before from across the state. I'm sure they probably feel the same way, about you. Fort Campbell, where? Not just, but just because Kentucky's such a spread out state. I mean, we've got 120 counties. We go from the Mississippi River to the West Virginia border, from the Ohio border all the way down to Tennessee. I mean, it's just, unless you just see somebody at a tournament, chances are you just don't see them, like you're talking about with Ruiz here. But we have your Parade of Champions, face-off, match video, and of course we have the medal ceremony. So we're going to pull it up. And my catchphrase, you guys are seeing what we're seeing. We've talked enough about it. Let's go.
It is now time for the Parade of Champions, presented by the U.S. Marines. Please stand and welcome our 2024 Wrestling Championship competitors.
Here comes I believe that's you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Take it one back. That's what I thought. Here comes the rest of the 165s. There's your opponent.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the 2024.
It's a long run out there by yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Of course, she's coming in undefeated.
Yeah.
Here you come running out. Of course, here's the match video. You're in these like the actual blue with the black bottom part there, red ankle bands. All right, so from neutral here, what are we looking to do? What's your go-to takedowns?
I really am an upper body wrestler, so typically most matches I'll hit a bear hug, or I'll throw something by to a mat return. But she was very strong up top, so if you watch the match, I don't think I ever hit one of those in the whole time.
And being the official, I like to point out my referee buddies. You got Jay Ragsdale as your head official there, and I'm the assistant. So you got two of the best in the world out there reffing you. So it's always good to know, right?
Yes, sir.
And even though there's a decent crowd there, the camera or the audio for this, I've got it turned down. It was still loud in there. People were still chilling. Do you remember hearing the crowd?
No, not during the match. I tend not to hear anything during my matches. I'm not even sure I heard my coaches.
Yeah, I think we're all that way when the whistle blows, man. We're zoned in, we're tunnel vision on what's going on in front of us.
Yeah.
Now you're right there. Jay hits her for stalling, which was the right call. That was a good call, Jay. You're trying to like bunt, like for like a bear hug or something like you talked about.
Yes, sir.
And that was good of you to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, I think consciously by the time I caught that and the way she was popping down like that, I think I knew I wasn't gonna get it, but I knew that if I kept on it, I was gonna get a point for it at very least, or a call.
That was a very smart Smart tactic. And I'm checking the clock here, counting us down. Time. Good. Man, that was your choice. You defer. You look over at your coaches and defer.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes down. Now, on top, are we like trying to run a bar, a wing, break down? What we doing here on top? Normally.
Normally I go forearm near ankle and I like to flip them.
Okay. Had you said she was strong when you get right and you get into position knowing that she's pretty stout. Did that change what you're going to do on the bottom, or was it just this is what I'm good at and let the chips fall where they may?
I know I kind of just went for what I knew I could get. Like I was conscious of the fact that I might not be able to get it with how strong she was, but I tried it anyways.
Now right
and then
there,
here I didn't want to let her up, but I got called for it, and my coaches were like, kick her. So I let that go.
And that was smart. That was smart on your part. Instead of getting another stalling, just let her go and do your best. What you could do there.
Yeah.
You do a good job defending this takedown because she's in pretty deep, but you're keeping your hips low. You're trying to work. You get back to your base. I think Coach Shingler's over here trying to wrestle it for you.
Yeah, I think when she was going for the shots, I kept catching like cow catchers too, and I kept trying to run that. But again, she was very strong, so I couldn't pump my arm the way I needed to run it.
So kind of winding down the second period here. Time. All right. So it's your choice. Look over at your coaches. They take down. So we've seen you neutral. We've seen you on top, on the bottom. What's our bread and butter here?
Typically, I'll go for a knee slide, and I stand off knee slides. Actually, I think that might have been what I did, and then I got taken down again.
There it is. Good job. You step in, you get a reversal.
Yeah. And here I was trying to get a leg
right
turn.
into a half.
Yeah.
You got to get that leg, or you got to I see your coaches over here telling you to get your leg back, get it out.
Mm-hmm.
And get to your feet. She turns in, gets her one. So we're tied up 2-2 here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kind of cognizant of the score late in the third period?
Yes. Yeah. I think I end up catching my underhooks here pretty soon too. And I do the same thing that I did earlier on and catch her for a stall point. And I did that because I knew that I was down.
Yep. Well, you're up. 25 seconds left. She tries for a shot. You're able to defend it. And you don't give up on it. And you get a takedown with 2 seconds left. And you win by a final score of 5-2. Excellent performance, wrestling all the way through the match. You didn't You could have easily just rode that 1 point, but then again, she could have, got her takedown on you. So just excellent job right there.
Thank you.
You run over, get a hug from your coaches, and here's the medal ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the awards area. And let's meet the 165-pound state medalist. 8th place for Highlands, Abby Burley.
Congratulations.
This is my expert camera work here, by the way.
Well, I'm grateful for it. Thank you.
Yeah. I was sitting there on the referee's row with my phone out trying to film it because, I knew I had to have it for the series.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to have it.
Seventh place from Central, Rihanna Bachman. Sixth place from Danville, Ella Sandler. Fifth place from Henry Clay, Sienna Avalon.
So Sienna, that was the correct pronunciation.
Yeah.
Fourth place from Madison Central, Uriah Peace, Mariah.
She was pretty good too. I remember getting to referee her. I remember her. She was pretty good. The Madison Central.
Third place from Trenton County,
Yeah.
Hendricks. Your state runner-up in the 165-pound weight class from Great Crossing, Anna Ruiz. Ladies and gentlemen, your 165.
And there you go, taking your rightful place at the top of the podium.
Brooke Arbic.
Letting them know Fort Campbell, Kentucky's in the house.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 165-pound state medalist.
That's where this one ends. So I'm sure you've probably watched it back a time or two since you've wrestled it, but does it, watching it, I guess, in this setting or watching it back, is any of it like a blur? Does it play out like move for move the way you remember it, or?
Definitely the third period. I remember that one pretty well because that's where it started to get pretty serious. The first period I think was kind of a blur because I'm not sure there was any point scoring in that period. It was kind of one of my slower matches for sure. No, but most of it I think I remember pretty well. And then it was pretty cool from this angle to see my coaches, Coach Shingler and Coach Jazzy in the corner, that their reaction as soon as I got those 2 points. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's man, people don't realize just how much coaches put in, the investment that they have to, whether it's boys or girls. It's the same. I mean, you put an investment in, you go to off-season camps, you do off-season training, in-season, early mornings, late nights. I mean, coaches to so many people mean so many different things. You don't know if you got to be a father figure, if you've got to be, a brotherly figure, a disciplinarian to one person, and a shoulder to cry on for the next person. So to see coaches watch their wrestlers win is something that it's gratifying, especially now that we've started the series. So many guys that are older than their coaches then, they're now finally getting to watch the review video so their kids can see it, grandkids, whoever it is in their life can watch it. And so many guys have talked about the impact that their coaches had on them as high schoolers, and then what they've been able to implement as dads, as grandpas, as uncles, as whoever whoever looks up to them, the lessons they've learned in the wrestling room or for them, their coaches still go with them. They just because they graduated school doesn't mean that what they learned graduated and they don't think about it anymore. So being on a military base, going to a military sponsored school, I would have to imagine that, of course, your parents, is it just your dad, your mom and dad? Do you care to share that with us, or?
It's my dad.
Okay, so your dad's in the Army, correct?
Yes, sir.
Part of being in the military is having to go out and whether it's go across to another continent, Asia, Europe, Africa, who knows where, or serving at home or abroad. Parents not always able to be there. So, was your dad able to make it? Did he have to miss a bunch of the season, or do you care to share that with us?
Yeah, I can share that. So he did actually miss a pretty good chunk of the season. He was TDY in Florida for I think a month and a half towards the beginning of season. So he missed all of January and I think the beginning part of December, and then he got sent away again at the state tournament actually. So he was going to be gone for regionals and states, but then he ended up being able to make regionals just because of some of the shifts with the Army. But he was not able to make it to the state tournament. There's actually a picture of me like with my mom on FaceTime with him, right? Like 5 minutes after my match, like talking to him, because she had been on the phone with him during my finals match.
My goodness, you'll have to send us or get Coach to send us that photo so we can add it in, because I'm sure people will want to see that. And something about Uncle Sam. I mean, there's no saying I'm sick, I can't make it, or calling into work that day. I mean, if Uncle Sam says you're going, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty well. Now, is your dad? Is he an officer, an NCO?
My dad is still enlisted, but he's I don't know exactly what rank he is, but he's pretty highly ranked within like enlisted. He's got his college education and he qualifies to go as an officer if he so chooses, but he doesn't. So
okay, no, that's cool. I just was curious because we interviewed Caleb Wood from Fern Creek. He's a 2005 state champion, and he's actually stationed at Fort Campbell. He is a major. He said what he was like his unit, but I can't remember it. But I'm to your dad. Thank you for your service. We greatly appreciated it. I guess it was maybe not the funnest thing in the world to be working for Uncle Sam, wherever you were, but getting FaceTime, man. Sometimes these things can be invaluable. Pulling up and watching it. And of course, now we got the review video. We got all that. You can have it forever. And like if you go to Florida, wherever, and you win it, you can have one from, hey, Dad, watch me in Florida.
yeah.
Watch me here, watch me there. Now, before you run out for the state finals, in case you've never been to the horse park, there's some practice mats there behind the head score table. People can warm up, no matter placement matches, finals throughout the day, go down there, get a sweat in, whatever. And that's where the finalist stage. That's where we have, the Parade of Champions come out, the state finalists come out that way. And it's a pretty long, it doesn't look it, but it's a pretty long run when you're doing it by yourself after they call your name. And I think it's a very intense, I know it is. It's a very intense experience for a lot of people. So when you're back there, they call out, of course, we work down from heavyweight, 235, 185, all the way down. You're back there. Are you nervous? Are you like, okay, I can, this is just another match, or what's going through your head back there?
No, I was pretty nervous. It had been my first time I'd ever been, like, I would ever be next to Anna Ruiz, the one I went against in the finals. And so I was nervous to meet her. And then I was nervous to run out there in front of everyone because it's just like, I don't know. I felt like it was different than like a match where you're like doing something. Like you got like a purpose when you're walking out there. Like I was walking out there and like some people were walking and some people were running. And I was like, are we supposed to run or are we supposed to walk? Like we were talking to, we being Thea, my teammate and I were talking to Coach Shingler and I believe a ref. And he was talking about how he had been a state champion and he had fallen like been a state champion twice. I'm not sure who he was, but he had fallen like flat on his face the first time. He was like, yeah, it's just, and like we were talking about it, we were like, yeah, it's just important. Like don't trip on the mat or on a wire. And I was like, knowing my luck, I probably will. That didn't happen. It was okay, but I was definitely nervous.
Yeah, and even if you do trip, just get up, play it off. No big deal.
No purpose.
Act like you meant to do it, bow for the crowd. Hopefully somebody got it on film, put it on your TikTok or your Instagram reel. You'd be on ESPN's not top 100 or top whatever for the week. So just that long run out, that's a staple of like boxing, mixed martial arts, professional wrestling, especially is the big build up, walk coming down to the ring, the cage, the mat side, whatever. So it's an experience that freaks some people out. It really does. They build up the match so much in their head, and then they come out for the face off, and they look like the proverbial deer in the headlights. Like this is not what I was expecting. All these eyes are on me. No, I just want to wrestle, and it throws them off their game. But you was able to handle it pretty well.
It's something that like some people are like, I've talked to people and they're like, oh, like it's embarrassing. Like I don't think it's something you should be embarrassed about. Like I think it's an honor to walk out there, but like it's definitely like you're out of your element. Like you're there to wrestle and then you're out there to like shake hands and kind of be like paraded around, and it's definitely nerve-wracking.
And that is something about the sport of wrestling is when you distill it down to the you get all the fluff, everything off of it. It should be the finals, especially. It should be treated as a big production. It should be celebrated. The finalists should be celebrated as any pay-per-view mixed martial arts, any pay-per-view boxing, because that gives the other people that's not out there incentive to want to do it next year.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't, you shouldn't have every match have the lights come down, the run out by yourself. No, the only people that get that treatment are those that are in the state finals. If you don't make it to the state finals, guess what? You're not getting the show. You're not getting the main event. You're not getting the spotlight, the headline. That's the way it should be. Give people deserving to be there, that recognition, that dopamine release, and that moment they can talk about forever about not wanting to trip over the cords or the trip over the mat or, whatever. And believe me, you're not the only person that's ever said that. There's been so many people that have said that. Some of my referee buddies have said that coming out, and I would be I would have to say my first state tournament, I was walking out to do that. I've done the heavyweight finals in 2020 for the boys, and I was thinking the same thing. All right, left foot in front of the right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. And then we get up here to the mat, even though I've stepped on a mat probably 10,000 times in my life, I was like, let's make sure our feet are about 4 inches off the ground. We don't want no tripping here. Once we get on the mat, we're good. Let's just make sure we don't trip when we go out. So yeah, everybody can relate to what you're saying there. Brooke, you said you've been in a lot of states. Are you going to be with us next year in Kentucky, or do you know now? Or
no, unfortunately, I won't be in Kentucky anymore next year. They're them being the Army is sending us back to Florida.
Okay, well, it was great having you for 2 years. It was great knowing that you are one of the 13, and I'm sure Fort Campbell is going to be more than proud of you. Put your own banner up in the gym, put you in the history books, and now, of course, documented through the review series. So, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. And I feel confident that I can speak for the Kentucky wrestling community. We wish you and your family well, no matter where life takes you, what you do in life. So really appreciate the time this evening of doing this. Before we wrap this video up, do you have anything you'd like to say or add or take away or anything like that we haven't discussed so far?
I just I just like to highlight the importance of of keeping with it and staying in training out of season, whether it's wrestling or just on your own or another sport. And doing that. And then also I'd like to say, because you see a lot when you see videos of wrestling and athletes and whatever talking about putting their all into it and no excuses ever and whatever. And I just want to talk about, or real quick want to mention that because this was something that I struggled with throughout the season, because sometimes I would reach a point where I'm just oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I need to take a day. I'm gonna get sick. So I'd like to real quick just be sometimes your own body more than anybody else, and it's important to know when to draw that line and be no, I can't do anymore. Just because I need this day off doesn't mean I'm slacking or I'm not being consistent. I need this day,
Mhm. Absolutely. I think her name was Simone Biles last year, or not last year, but in the last Olympics, she set out and missed the opportunity to be a multiple time gold medalist because she, hey, I need a mental health day. She ended up taking the whole week off, and she ended up doing one or two of the routines that she had qualified for. But exactly, good, excellent point. I think you're the first person that's brought that up. But if exactly, if you know your body, if you need a day, wrestling can be a grind. Cutting weight is not fun. Having to get up early, go to meets, and stay late is not fun. So if you do need a day, don't be afraid to tell your coaches, "Hey, coach, whoever, this is a me day. I just right now it's going to do more harm for me practicing than it is going to help me." So that was an excellent. I'm glad you said that. That was an excellent point. Now, I guess the $75 million question is: are you going to go to Florida and kick some butt in Florida?
I sure hope so.
I hope we're. I don't know where you and your family are going, what base, what part, whatever, but I hope you're able to wrestle there. And I have a standing rule or a standing policy on the channel, if you will. Anybody that wrestled in Kentucky, whether they're a state champion or not, and they move to another state, they go to college, they win a national championship, they place in the nationals, whatever the case is, you're always welcome back on the channel to review whatever it is that you won. So next year in Florida, if you do choose to wrestle and you do win a state championship, I want to have you back. I want to make sure that we keep up with you and we follow you the best as we can, because I'm sure people are going to want to see how you're progressing, and just let them know, hey, I can do it in Kentucky, I can do it in Florida, wherever the Army sends my family, I can go there and win a state wrestling championship. Ain't nobody going to stop me. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I think we've reached a good ending point. This has been a lot of good information in this video. I'm glad we were able to get this done. So again, wish you and your family well, but the offer is open. You win it next year in the state of Florida, the Sunshine State. You can join us, and we'd love to have you again, or whatever life does with you. We wish you the best, you and your family. So that's all that we have for this video. Thank you all for watching. We will see you guys and girls on the mats.